Hi, I'm Caleb. I'm a cardist, and I'm interviewing other cardists to see how and why they create, so we can learn how to grow as a community. Welcome to Cardistry Talk. Hello everybody, welcome back to Cardistry Talk. This is episode 21. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm using a new camera setup, so hopefully the video quality is a little bit better. If you're listening to this in podcast version, you can find this also on YouTube if you want to see the faces of my viewers or, heaven forbid, myself. But today I am joined by the Cardistry legend known as Greg. You may know him
Legend,
from
man.
his flourishes that he posts on Instagram. He posts some pretty complex and really great things. Greg, welcome to the show. And
Thank you for
I look
having
forward
me.
to talking with you.
Yes, hopefully this will go great.
Mm-hmm. Right before this, we were actually talking for about like 15, 20 minutes, and I forgot to hit the record button. So we're going right back at it.
Yes.
So unfortunately, that was a pretty big oof on my part. But Greg, I know we already answered this question, but kind of how did you get started into cardistry for the people out there?
So I started about, I think it was like 2012, 2013, and I had done magic for about 2 weeks, and I got completely bored of it. I wasn't really as interested into it as I thought I would. I thought I would be, and I saw a random video for a card flourish, and I didn't know what card flourishes were at the time, but it was by Zach Mueller, and it was around the time that I think he was dropping Red Fontaines, um, and it was for Seattleite, and I kind of just fell in love with how how technically it like difficult it looked, and I mean honestly just like the beauty of it, like, and I think that really gave me the motivation to sit down and actually try to learn. And at first I couldn't do it at all, and I didn't sit down to learn any prerequisites. I didn't know what they were at the time, but you know something pushed me to just try to learn, and for the most part I'm pretty much self-taught, like just by watching people and observing and trying to redo those actions, those motions I saw in videos, and it's kind of how I started, man.
Mm-hmm. I like that you said you're self-taught too, because I don't think a lot of people realize. I think I probably start maybe a little bit before you, but around the same time when I first started cardistry. But back then, like there wasn't as much resources when it came to like video tutorials. Like there wasn't
No,
cardistry boot camp and stuff like that like there is
exactly, man.
now.
It's become a lot easier for beginners to pick up a deck and just start learning from the get-go, like I really had to like sift through and figure out what the basics were, like individual things that I had to learn. I kind of had to figure it out for myself. And I mean, I take pride in that, and for those newer artists, like that doesn't mean I'm trashing on these boot camps, at all, but like it's become a lot more effective, and people can take that step from beginner to intermediate so much quicker now, instead of having to just start from scratch and learn everything on your own.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, I mean, basically exactly what you said. Did you ever have to go through the process of like putting a video in super slow motion and like
Oh yeah.
analyzing it to try to recreate it?
And for a long time, I didn't even realize that you could put something in slow motion. Like, I really didn't. Like, I didn't even think about that. And I would just do it on my phone. And if I was working on, like, say, like Charlie Cut, I'd have my phone in my right hand and I'd just be like sitting there, like messing with my fingers, like moving them like centimeters at a time, like trying to like figure out how to get the packet to move exactly how you want. And I would just watch the same video over and over and over again. And it after a long time it worked, but it definitely was not effective at all. Wasn't efficient. Sorry, it was effective. It was not efficient is the word I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something that a lot of people right now probably don't have to go through as much,
Oh yeah,
unless it's like
something, and
heritage or something.
yeah, something incredibly difficult. Yeah.
When it comes to cardistry in general, when you're trying to sit down and like create a move, this is a question I like to ask everybody: is do you
Okay.
have like any sort of creative process when you go to make a move? Does it differ every time? Kind of what's the process for you personally?
I wish that it was as easy as just returning to the same process over and over again, because I unfortunately fall into the realm of cardists who take months and months, and I've taken even years on moves to completely be satisfied with them before really posting them or saying that it's done. But you know, I'm more of a hand thinker, and I think Matt has talked about this before, but Matt Fox has talked about this
Mm.
before, but um, very few cardists are honestly like head thinking, like conceptualizing artists when it comes to cards. Like it's really hard to sit down and think about what you want to achieve and then actually going and achieving exactly what you had imagined. It's really difficult. And because there's so many different factors that come into play. You could honestly conceptualize something in your head and you might think it's great, and then you go to sit down and do it, and then you actually get it, but you don't like how it turned out. It looked cool in your head, but it didn't really work in your hands. Whereas, if like I'm a hand thinker, so I just sit down with a deck and I mess with this mechanic, and I make little adjustments to certain openers or main actions, and I kind of just take all these little bits and pieces and I kind of just put them together. And the hardest part is obviously seamlessly putting them together, like trying to figure a way to fit all these pieces together. But yeah, it's honestly just, I wouldn't say random, because I purposely, I like years ago I would have said random, but that would have been an ignorant thought, because I hadn't really like sat down and thought about what it really means for something to be random, like in cardistry, like specifically, because for something to be random, it just has to happen by like completely by accident, like without your thought, like I have a video on my Instagram where uh I I balance. It was a one-handed cut that I
The
toss over my
pinky
thumb,
stall.
pinky stall, yeah, and I catch it directly on the center of the packet. And I had sat down like 3 hours before that and was like, I'm gonna catch this packet on my pinky, just cause. And it didn't work for so long. It kept falling, like the cards would just spill all over the floor, like. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna actually sit down and do this because I think it's gonna look cool. And I just got so fed up after about 2.5 hours of sitting there in front of my phone, and it just happened. And I somehow finished it like clean, like I was expecting to land it, and then for everything to just fall. Like I was just didn't really know how to clean it up. But it kind of just worked out, and it was perfectly like centered on camera and everything. Like that was random. Like I knew what I wanted to do, but like the fact that it happened when it did, and that I caught it on camera, exactly dead center camera, like that whole, like all of the extraneous factors were random, but the conceptual idea was there, you know like the
Mhm.
randomness where it comes to creating packet cuts, which is what I love to do. It it you like maybe dropping a packet and you catching it like randomly in a finger would be like a random thing that happens. But if I'm adjusting my fingers to a certain edge of a packet, or using a different finger instead of another one, like like I would have called that random before, because I'm not technically using my brain to do that. I'm
Mhm.
just kind of just doing it. But it's not random, because in a way I'm doing it on purpose, because I'm trying to find something different. So I don't know if I was rambling or not, but like basically I thought I was a random cardist. Like my creative process was random, but I realized that it's not random. I'm just not head thinking, I'm hand thinking.
Yeah, you have like certain motions or ideas that are up there that you
Right.
like can do comfortably whether you realize it or not, and then it just kind of folds into each other.
Exactly.
And I think like that's a lot of what people are most proud of when they make moves. A lot of times is something that just kind of happens naturally and they don't
Mm,
really understand why. um, a lot of times that's, I think, because of hand-eye, not hand-eye coordination, muscle memory is what I'm going
yeah.
for, whether
Yeah.
they
Like
realize it's there or not. I
yeah.
like a lot of
Uh,
my moves, like you said, are kind of like how you said with that pinky stall. Like I'll have something I want to do. A lot of my moves are like foot stalls and stuff that I've been creating lately.
oh, okay.
But I'll have something that I'll know like is theoretically possible, and then I just got to do it. And those are some of the most frustrating moves because it'll take forever to like
Yeah,
get to the point where you can do it.
you just gotta get over that wall, like that,
Yeah.
that ability to even come close. Like, I don't know if you know how to do the padiddle or not.
No, that's one I haven't learned. I don't really
Yeah,
have much interest in it, to be honest, but
it's, dude, I learned it. Don't. It's just, unless you really want to sit down and learn it, go ahead. But like, as long as you can pirouette, I think you're fine. Like, that's cool enough. Like, pirouette is fine. Like, padiddle is so impossible. Oh my goodness. It is listen, if I could like emphasize this enough, it is literally a feeling. It is actually a feeling in your finger that you really feel the weight of the card as it's spinning on your finger. Like, you really, it's just the fact that I sat down and learned that move still boggles my mind today because it was so frustrating. I think it took me 6 months of just spinning a damn card on my finger
Mhm.
to figure it out. Because I mean, there is no tutorial for that. Like, Tobias, even, like, I think he tried to put out a tutorial. Like, I think it was a tips video because there is no tutorial for padiddle. Like, you just have to like feel it. Like, I don't know. I can't even explain it. Like, it's one of those moves. Like,
Yeah. I think like I was I was listening to like a Cardistry con stream at one point recently, and like Zach was talking about how like you'll feel like that hook for the first time, and like that's like once you feel that hook, you can kind of like piece it together, but like it
mm,
takes like hours to get to like to figure out. And obviously,
like
like I said, I don't know it, but
right.
if Zach says it, it must be true.
No, exactly. Like, it's like kind of like yeah, it's a feeling. Like, pretty much like you get to a point where you're like, I understand this enough. Like, my brain and my hands understand this enough to where I feel like, okay, I can definitely do this. Like, for sure. Like, I can honestly get this done.
Going back to like I don't you said it takes sometimes months or like a year even up to create a move, right? For you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had moves that have created in weeks, but generally a couple months at least
Mm-hmm.
for me to be satisfied.
Yeah. I think there's a difference between like how I create and how like you or like I think maybe Chase Duncan creates where they have like a really slow, really methodical looking at every option.
Mm.
You got people like me who just kind of like, oh, this is done. Like
I wish I was like that, man, because I feel like, I mean, do you have any doubts like when you finish something? Like, do you ever doubt it?
this is my philosophy and what I've gone by, and is that um, whether or not it's good is not my decision to make. That's like the viewer's decision to make. I have to decide whether or not I like to physically do it myself,
Okay.
and that's how I
Okay.
make stuff. I don't think I necessarily make like insane moves or anything. Like I don't think I have anything as complex as like you or some other people in the community, but I have stuff that I'm proud of and that I think others enjoy. Um, and I think it comes down to a lot of like use, like we were talking about, like having the motion that we come back to in our head, like the hand thing.
Yeah.
Like I'll have something that I'll make, and then it just kind of forms together on itself, and I don't question it too much.
Okay.
Um,
That's really, honestly, that's really interesting. Um, so okay, I have a couple questions. So okay, when so you value, obviously, okay, so you said yourself that like, as long as you can perform it, like, and you're okay with doing that, that's fine. Like you're happy with it. And but do you value the viewer's reaction more than your own to the move, or is it more or less like a mechanical thing? Like, do you just want to be able to do something and call it your own?
mhm. I think when I first got back into cardistry this year, it was having something and calling it my own.
Okay.
Recently, like we were talking about earlier, I kind of fell into like the social media trap of like all that stuff.
Mm,
And I realized I wasn't enjoying it as much. So I'm like, I'm trying to get back to where I'm just creating stuff and doing stuff that I enjoy with little notion of wondering whether it will be accepted or like enjoyed by others. Um, if that makes any sense.
no, it does. I think it does. So it's kind of like an iffy like it depends pretty much. Like
Yeah.
yeah. Like, okay. There really isn't a rhyme or reason for any of this, to be honest with you. Like I've tried to think through my processes and try to make sense of them, and sometimes they do, like they do come through and they make clear sense to me. And then sometimes I'm like, why did I do this? Or why am I thinking a certain way about going about this a certain way? It just, and I think a long time ago, like maybe a couple of years ago, like this was before I took my break. And I think this is partially what burned me out. Was I started to value the viewer, I think, too much.
Hmm.
And I think that put too much stress on me to create what other people loved instead of what I did. And that killed it. That absolutely killed it for me. That burnt me out.
Hmm.
And so that's why I'm so like that's why it's like really intriguing that you almost you almost value the viewers like on an equivalent basis to your own. Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't say I value like myself more than the viewers necessarily. I think equivalent would be a nice way of putting it. Yeah,
okay,
because I do
because
definitely like I want to create good stuff that other people will enjoy.
right,
Obviously, I mean,
right. Me too, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
obviously, but I don't think that's necessarily the only focus or the only reason.
Well, I mean, okay, so the title to Pat's latest solo, so Selfish, right?
Selfish. Yeah.
So that video, first of all, is incredible. I love that video. I always return to that video, and I get so many, just it really inspires me. And Pat was one of my biggest inspirations for becoming like actually delving as far as I did into packet cuts and my style as like a whole. But that that word's selfish, okay? So I think to a certain extent, Cardis and especially just artists in general have to be selfish. I think you have to genuinely be selfish to create yourself and portray yourself accurately. Because if you're not, then it's just this mishmash of of portrayals of others' opinions instead of your own onto our medium, which is cards. And I love where people are going with stuff now, like with these little short videos. Like Eric's doing really great with these. Like I thought his are phenomenal. Like people are like really going different places with videos and these little edits. Like it. There's so many other mediums that can be intertwined with cards that I think it would be. I think it wouldn't be doing yourself justice if you didn't focus on what you wanted to do. If that involves incorporating all these other mediums, and so be it. But my main medium is cards, and so I would love to make a cool edit, like a cool, super artistic and really like well thought
Mhm.
edit that is well received, but I'm really just in it for the cards, man. Like just my cardistry, my art,
Mhm.
man. I love it. I love it. And I love to share, but like I'm pretty selfish, like I'm really like, that's why it takes me so long to be like happy with something, like until I'm happy with it, If I'll share an idea with someone and they'll tell me that's great, man. That's honestly great, or that's not really good, like depending on how they receive it, that doesn't affect me at all, like anymore. It used to. And sometimes it gets under my skin a little bit. Like, I mean, we're all human,
Mhm.
but for the most part, I'm pretty selfish. Like I'm only thinking about really how I'm feeling about something, and that's how you stay, I think, consistent with yourself. I mean, it's great to step out and explore, but staying consistent and like as long as you're satisfied with it yourself and other people receive it, that's just a bonus. you know
Mhm.
Receive it well. It's just a bonus
Yeah,
for sure.
and I think like you said, with like being selfish is like a part of art. I would generally agree with that. I think like the people that kind of like step back from what everybody else is doing and kind of go their own route and like do something solely to express themselves, or like I think that's where the most unique stuff comes out of.
Mm,
Um, if that makes any sense.
no, that makes perfect sense, and I'm trying to think about like how to respond to that, but I pretty much agree with exact, like that's great. Yeah, like I mean, stepping out of the norm, right? Like okay, so packet cuts right now, I think we can consider, like, we can
The normal.
probably say are pretty damn common and popular.
Yeah.
Like everyone's making packet cuts now, and like stepping out of your, I guess stepping out of the norm right now would be like making an isolation, or like trying to make a new fan, which is impossible now because so many fans have been made. But
Yeah.
like I think that's why packet cuts have become so popular, and for that exact reason. Like you can pretty much make, like, there's unlimited possibilities.
Hmm.
Like you can really just do just about anything, and you can use the entirety of all of your hands, like all of your fingers. Like there's just so many ways you can go about a packet cut. I think that's why people are finally like realizing, like, wow, like, okay, I can kind of carve out my own right here, instead of
Hmm.
just struggling to come up with like a twirl or like a fan. Like packet cuts are getting to that point of being like intriguing to people.
Yeah, and like I've thought about this too. Like I was wondering if like there's a way you could quantify like how many possible moves could ever be created, and I don't like. There's no way because
No.
there's so many motions, there's so many directions and fingers, obviously, and like you can do stuff without just your hands too. You can incorporate like your forearm, feet,
Mm.
all their parts of your body, and like times 52 as well. Like there's no way. There's got to be like millions of like different variations that you could potentially do with packets.
I think it does say something now, though. Like when we do see like similar ideas like popping up here and there, like I think that says something about the community. Like I think it says something about how we view and perceive other people's moves. Like we don't even realize it, but we're taking bits and pieces from everywhere because we like them, right? Like we may not
Mm-hmm.
even like the whole move, but we like this one little part where he curls his middle finger at a certain angle. We're like, wow, like that's great. Like I want to do that too. And then you do it one time and you're like, where's that come from? And then you're like, I think I just did that. Like that's cool. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I'm gonna incorporate that, and then you come across something else, and like that's kind of subtly how, even though there is unlimited possibilities of where you could go, like pretty much unlimited. Like I'm sure there's a finite number you could come up with, but like realistically, the unlimited ideas. That's how we still manage to come across similar ideas, like to even
Mm-hmm.
this day. You know, like there's like this is a really young art form. Like think about like painting, music, like all of these other mediums have been existing for so long. And I mean, copycats are rampant. It's gonna happen. It really is. Like, regardless of whether you want it to or not, the same thing has been said three or four or five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 times over somewhere else. I've thought about that too. Like, so it's hard to sit down and be satisfied with something until I really feel like it sets itself apart. I'll keep working with something until I find that, like that's what really makes me satisfied, is when something feels complete and unique at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And like one of my favorite things about Cardistry, and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, is like you can like do something with Cardistry, and it's possible that it's never ever been done before in like the history of ever,
Yeah,
which is such a unique thing at this point. Like to have something that it's like it's crazy to think about for me, um, that I could potentially have done something that no one else has ever done before. It's like
and
addicting thought.
exactly, like you're like, okay, now I'm craving that. Like now I want to have that. Like,
I think that's what's so attractive about cardistry and packet cuts, like you said.
mm, especially packet cuts, because like the more and more I create packet cuts, I might get tired, I might get bored with them, but I think that's just I think that's just your maybe it's your muscle memory in your brain telling you that I feel comfortable with this now. Like I'm comfortable with this idea. Instead of really, I try to view it like that, because I don't want to fall down that path again where I feel like I'm burnt out and I want to just take a break, because I love where I'm at in the community right now. I love being able to chat and have such a positive relationship with most people. Like everyone, pretty much. I don't really have any enemies. I don't really know
Mm-hmm.
anyone that's really negative, like honestly. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's really addicting, genuinely. Like looking for that next, like that brand new idea, like that sparks something from like within everyone.
Hmm.
Like, wow, that's brand new. That's so cool. Like when I first saw Cardistry, I was like, I never really thought about destroying my decks of cards, but man, there's some really cool shit you can make with Cardistry. Like, really.
Hmm. It's interesting too that now you have like genres of cardistry, and like the like what is defined as cardistry is starting to get blurred,
Mm,
because there's
I,
so many
yeah.
like.
I think the further down the road we travel of cardistry, we're gonna start like this is just an example. Like we've we well, what you said is exactly an example. Like we're finally figuring out what it means for certain things to be distinguished from one another. It's not just all cardistry. It's not just all XTM. Like you can really kind of just find your own lane and just go with it. Just head straight down, and just delve in.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think you see like you got, I think to a lesser extent there's some people that like really only do fans, and like there's a lot of people that really only do packet cuts, and like
Mm,
there's like it's interesting to see um that there are like specific niches, whereas in the past it was usually like you learned a little bit of everything.
right. Exactly. Like there's you know what? I don't even have to say it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like people create their styles and stuff out of those little things that they find enjoyment out of, like those little niches. Like they kind of like find their own little lane. Which is great. Like the fact that you can even do that is awesome.
When you're like you're in that creative space, like you feel it, like you're making something, like you can tell the difference between like when you're just going through the motions, right?
Yeah, like so okay. At a certain point, I feel like things kind of get stale. Like, of course. Oh, thank you very much. I think stuff gets stale. Like going through the motions over and over again. Like
Mhm.
it can feel like things get repetitive. Like I start using the same mechanics over and over again, or like I kind of get bored with myself almost. Like I'm like, okay, am I not creative enough to come up with something different? Like honestly, but you know, through that staleness comes that little accidental slip up where you actually make something different. Like, okay, like instead of taking it this way, how about I grab my thumb, or like okay, well I dropped everything, but like
Yeah.
like it's just something like different happens. Like I don't even know how to explain it. Like yeah, like something different just happens, and it kind of like encourages you and motivates you to keep trying, even through the boring little details. I actually have a question for you, actually. So, okay, so what was the last time that you felt like a move kind of just solved itself? Did you ever have a feeling like that at all?
Yes. um I have one interlock move, and like
Sam, literally one.
yeah, literally one. It's like it's interlocked for like 4 seconds. Like,
Same, bro. Like literally, like it's like 10 seconds maybe, and then I kind of like make it a whole effort to get out of it. But
mhm.
yeah,
But I remember I did this. I was a part of the Squeezers V3 trailer for organic playing cards, and
okay.
like the whole day or two before, I'm like, okay, I'm making something new for this trailer, and then that just kind of happened. This interlock move, which I don't even know if it's that great, and I forgot it recently. I had to look it up to figure out how to do it again.
I've had that happen too, man.
um,
I swear.
I actually had to look at the trailer to like repiece it together, the opening part. But yeah, it's equal parts satisfying and dissatisfying,
Yeah.
because like you said, there is like an element of where you appreciate a move when you work at it and like nail it out and like grind it out. And then like when something just kind of happens, you're like, oh sweet, I have a move now. And then it's also like that was kind of boring. Like
Like it just happened right in
it was
front of
really
me.
exciting for the hour or however long it took to do. And then you're just like, well, now it's done though.
Yeah, now I can do it. There's no struggle at all. There's no like second guessing myself like it normally is. Like it kind of just worked out. I've never I think I've had that once. I think I've had that happen once. Really, honestly. And I was so used to struggling with coming up with moves, just like not coming up, but like finishing. completing a move, that when it just kind of happened, like right before my eyes, and I actually remembered everything I did, like exactly how I did it. Like that's another thing I have a problem with, is like I don't even remember. Like if I find something cool, it's another challenge for me to remember exactly how I got there and what I did, And
Yeah. I
and
find I always have to be recording, like if I ever want to like go back to something that I did midway through, like to figure out what exactly I did. Even if I do something and then I'm at a certain point, I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm like, how did I get here? Like I have to repiece it together, like looking at the video.
exactly. Oh yeah, I mean, that's a whole other challenge, and that's the amazing thing with people who are conceptual thinkers, is like they can usually have a pretty good track record of where they got from place to place, But if you're a hand thinker and you kind of just go with the flow and you kind of just create, you have to like be keeping a memory of what actions you're making and kind of follow patterns to really remember what you're doing. It's a lot harder than it seems, man. I swear.
I find a lot of times too, if I have like an idea in my head of what I want to try to make, some motion or something, it never ever really turns out the way that I had imagined, and it turns into something like similar but holistically different.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I find that pretty often too. Like where I thought I was going with one thing and it kind of just completely like went off the rails and went somewhere else. I really feel that. Like, I mean, honestly, if you're satisfied with where it went, even if it went away from what you were like, even if it deviated away from what you were going for, I mean, win-win, right? Like like it's something new to you and you like it. Like, come on, that's great.
I think you said you've watched the episode before. I don't know if you watched the end, but at the end, I usually do what I call the rapid round of questions. And
Yes.
it's 3 minutes of random questions, and the goal is to answer them as quick as possible.
All right. I told myself, I know this. I told myself I was going to break whatever record you got here. So I'm going to just answer quickly and we're moving through them. We're zooming. We're lightning around here.
What would the title of your autobiography be?
Greg.
Great.
I am Greg.
Have you ever broken a bone?
I fractured my ankle one time. Basketball.
Pancakes or waffles?
Waffles all day.
If an actor portrayed you in a movie, who would it be?
Ryan Reynolds. Because he's a sexy mofo.
Favorite unoriginal move?
I'm going to have to go with Stallone by Pat.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Telekinesis. All
Cats
day.
or dogs?
Cats. And I'll stick on that.
Favorite type of food?
Fried chicken, man.
All right. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over.
Do you play
Under is a weirdo. I do. I play hella video games.
All right. Do you have a favorite?
I play a lot of Apex Legends. A lot.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Coke or Pepsi?
Regular Coke.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I'd say Split was really good, honestly. Yeah, Split. I'm gonna go Split or Oblivion with Tom Cruise.
Split was good, I like that. Your favorite TV show right now?
Oh man, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, probably.
99? Okay.
So good.
Favorite brand or musician?
Favorite brand? Oh, our musician.
Sorry.
My favorite band or musician? Okay. Juice WRLD. I'm gonna go with Juice WRLD just because I've been following him since literally the dead beginning.
Favorite restaurant?
Chick-fil-A, man. Chick-fil-A. I don't even have one near me, and it's so unfortunate. It's like 3 hours away, man.
I have one next to my work, and I go there too often.
Damn.
Android or iPhone?
iPhone, because I got one, and I had an Android, and I'm glad I have an iPhone.
If you could have coffee with any Disney character, who would it be?
Any Disney character?
Yes.
Oh man. What's that snowman from
Olaf.
Yes, Olaf. Okay, there we go. That's what the first thing that popped in my head.
Do pineapples belong on pizza?
No. Oh no, no. I'm sorry. I don't want to offend anyone.
All right. Who's the most famous cardist you've ever met?
The most famous? Okay. I've met Matt. I've met Pat. Probably one of them. All right. How
All
many did
right,
I
that was the
get? Come
timer.
on. Tell me how many I got. That's got to be more than 16, man. That's got to
I
be.
don't know. I wasn't counting. I'm gonna have to
No,
look at it.
no.
I'll have
Damn
to look at
it.
it in post. There's no way I'm
Okay.
gonna
I'm
remember
taking this.
that.
Yo, listen, I'm taking the belt. Oh yeah. It depends on how quickly and concise you answer, man. I'm taking the belt. I'm taking it. Someone's gonna have to uncrown me next time. I'm telling you.
All right. Great. Thank you for being on the show. I really enjoyed talking with you. I hope everybody listening enjoyed it as well. At the end of the show, I like to do what I call roll out the close-up pad. And that's basically just saying, is there anything you would like to promote, or any last thing you would like to leave the audience with?
Ah man. Anything I'd like to promote? Well, my boy Leo is making amazing decks of cards out here. Missing New York. He's got 200 left of the thermals. I don't know when this is gonna drop. There might be less than that. If you haven't copped one, you need to go buy one. The
Mhm.
homie is making amazing decks of cards. I don't know. Shout out Jack. Shout out Trin. Shout out all my homies. I'm not gonna sit here and name every one of you, but you know who you are. Check me on Instagram, man. I make moves. I don't really post as much as I'd like to, but you know, we're out here hanging.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Obviously, like usual, links to any of Greg's stuff will be in the description if you guys want to check him out. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys later. All right.
All right. Awesome.